Okay, we're recording. This is Wrong Speed Record Chat number 13. And we have Mr. Phil Macy. Hello, Phil.
Hi.
How are you doing?
I'm okay so far. Cheers. Time for that to all change.
20 seconds in, you're okay.
We're laughing.
So,
it's good to be here. Good to be here.
I'm going to try and remember when we first met. But before that, you're one of those people that I know as like what label you ran is your surname to me. So you know how like I might be like, say, Joe Colossus to someone.
No, mate. You are Joe Stanton.
Joe Stanton. Like, so you're like old school. But for me, you're Phil Victory Garden. So Phil and his friend Stuart used to run the record label Victory Garden. And they also used to run a cassette tape label called SOUL, which stands for Sides of Unequal Length. And just quickly with that, on that label, Phil released the Dedicated to You Clangers Hey Colossus compilation that came out.
Possibly the last one we ever did, actually, for the release.
Soul 17. Yeah.
Yeah. That may have been like sort of. I think that was about 3 years after we'd done the sort of the previous last one.
Yeah.
And you know the sort of I had this big industrial blooming tape duplicator. It did 3 C90s in like I don't know, like 3 minutes or something like that. And it was literally just gathering dust. And I remember you saying, "Oh yeah, let's do a tape release." So,
yeah.
Blow it all
so it's the first 10 years of Hey Colossus, and we had a bunch to sell at our 10th anniversary gig, which was in 2013. And then a couple of years later, actually, it came out on vinyl. MIE released it. Double vinyl, really nice, and but that came off the back.
Was it exactly the same? So actually, I never checked. So was it exactly the same track list? It is just
one extra song. One extra song on this.
Oh, no, I don't know. No, I'm only joking. I'm only joking.
Sorry. Right. But it was initially a cassette on Phil's label. He also released a Stanton tape.
Yeah, that was great. That was
Walkman Songs. Which is a compilation of old 4-track Stanton stuff, and I almost prefer it to our proper album, actually. And he also
it's a great collection of like sort of outtakes, demos. It's some live. Is there some live stuff on there? Yeah, I've not listened to it for about ages, but it was great. We really wanted to. The problem with Stanton was with Victory Garden. We had this kind of plan that we'd only release South All Right stuff, which was me and Stuart, and we'd release debuts of bands as well. We wouldn't just release the same bands over and over again, because there were a lot of labels at the time who just kind of had like 4 or 5 bands who'd go around each label and release on that label and stuff like that. We only wanted to release the debuts. We desperately wanted to release Stanton, but you were releasing your own stuff on like Johnson, and it's like, so we had to think, so how can we do this? How can we get around things? So we released that, and also we did seaweeding, didn't we? We just thought, oh, sod it, this is good enough. Seaweeding and sort of Beaver 84, was it?
Which the song Beaver 84 was named after a advertising hoarding behind a football goal.
Was it?
Yeah, in Europe, it seemed to be advertised everywhere. I had no idea what it was.
I never considered that. I never considered why you.
And also, Phil's tape label is the only label to release a solo release by me.
Oh yeah! Oh blimey! Ex-Eagle Piss is this?
Yeah, the Eagle Piss cassette that came in a really nice sleeve with a empty question mark on it.
Lovely. Oh, so I remember Stuart, who's the design half and the art half of all Victory Garden and Souls, right? And Unequal Left. So I remember him really liking the aesthetic of that and stuff like that. It sold terribly. And I think we sold like 9 of them or something like that. And like, so that includes the one that I got and Stuart got and you got. It's all it's there, mate. It's there. It's out there.
Exactly. I'm happy. It's fine. It's called Like You're Always Saying Nothing.
No.
Well, it's just me droning into an H&H amp, so it's never gonna.
But we loved that shit. We loved it. We lapped it up in those days.
But just quickly on the Victory Garden front, you released some really interesting things as well. There's a trencher VHS.
Oh yeah, blimey. The VHS. I mean, even that was 2001, 2002. Even by then, VHS was a ancient format, as I didn't have it. So that was quite cool. Yeah,
it was awesome. Trencher video, and you also used to post out. These things came in the post to people on the mailing list.
Oh, what mail outs and
we came in the post. I got a couple of them.
We were sort of, those are actually fanzines that we did for All Tomorrow's parties, sort of when it was originally at Canberra Sands, and we self-publicists. You just write lots and lots and put them out, and we. I think for the first 3 or 4 All Tomorrow's parties, ATPs at Canberra Sands, we did these fanzines, me and Stu, and then at the end we'd have like 50 left, and we'd send them out, sort of a mailing list. But we did have an actual stamp licker sort of industry going. At one point we had like, I don't know, 90 or 100 people on a mailing list. Like, again, it's before the internet, so we literally, you'd print them out, you'd fold them up, you'd stick them in an envelope, write the address on, stuck their stamp on there, and send them off. It seems crazy now. It's like people just wouldn't do.
It's that. Awesome. But I didn't realise it, but I'd kept them.
I'm glad someone did. It's I'll probably have them somewhere.
And then you had your own band. Remember this?
Oh
box?
Yes. Has yours got? There's my box. I actually prepped this one,
and it's got
obviously,
and it's got tons of crap in there. Like unbelievable. It's even got. I don't know if you can read that.
Yeah.
It says, "This is a piece of the Berlin Wall liberated from Potsdamer Platz in July 1990."
That's exactly what it is. I went to see Roger Waters performing The Wall in Berlin, July 1990, and there was still some of the wall left then. It's like people were battering away at it, like big guys. And I actually carried home this huge sort of rock of it. And then 9 years later, probably Jimmy Glass, probably 11 years later, I just said, I need to get rid of this somehow. So I chipped away at it, put loads in a box. And we punted it out to people. There were actually, I think, 40 of those boxes and 500 of the actual pink disc.
I got 2 versions of this. I've got this version in a normal sleeve and this version in a box. So is it called the Jimmy Glass EP?
Yeah, it's Jimmy Glass EP.
Maybe it says
there was like a big thing, sort of. I had a 45-minute conversation on the phone with the Jimmy Glass.
So just quickly, explain who Jimmy Glass is, because he might have. I know who he is, but he might have got lost in the mist of time now.
Jimmy Glass was kind of a jobbing lower league goalkeeper who was just going from club to club and sort of no real sort of, he's just earning a living being like sort of a lower league sort of a goalkeeper, bit of non-league, bit of like, the 4th division, 3rd division. And he was on loan to Carlisle in, I'm going to get this right, 96, probably the season 95, 96, might be 96, 97. And Carlisle needed to win to stay in the whole league. They were at the bottom of sort of the 4th division, League 2 as it is now. And they needed to win, and it was 0-0 or 1-1 at in the 94th minute of the last game of the season. Jimmy Glass in goal. He runs up the pitch. The ball comes in from a corner, and from the edge of the box, he leathers it into the bottom corner. And he saves Carlisle's league existence. And it's like sort of there obvious scenes at Carlisle. There's the famous picture, and I think the picture is actually in there. So I don't know if you can find at the insert of him like running, sort of floating Christ-like across the pitch, and like there were all these kids in like Carlisle scarves, like running after him, going, "The saviour has arrived!" It's like sort of a Jimmy Glass. And like sort of the saddest thing is, it was the last time he ever kicked a ball for Carlisle. It's like, I mean, he was on loan, and at the end of the season, they were like, "Well, we can't afford your wages, or we think we've got a better goalkeeper." And he went back to, or we went to Kingstonian or something like that. But the thing is he's always got a job doing after dinner speaking in like the Carlisle. That's the one. Yeah. I mean, it just imagine the like adrenaline and the glory that's like going through his head at that moment. It's
absolutely.
And there wasn't really there was. And I wrote a little instrumental track which kind of had the ennui, the kind of like sort of I can't think what the word is now, but it was meant to sum up how the glory was actually such a tiny glory in the big scheme of things, but to someone. It was like a massive thing, and to like 2,500 people in Brunton Park, it was a huge thing, and it'll be remembered for that forever. We got that we sent 5 copies of that 7-inch up to the Carlisle Advertiser, and they like sort of handed it out with a like a competition. We had a competition in the Carlisle Advertiser. I've got I think in my box I've got a thank you from the editor of Carlisle News. There we are. It's a thank you from the editor of. I got hi Phil, thanks for the record. It's like it was a bit of publicity for us, and I ended up having this huge great conversation with Jimmy Glass, like literally 45 minutes on the phone, where he was talking about his plans for the future. He was going to write a training book for. Like the youth for kids, because he didn't think there was enough in grassroots football at that point, which would be from going from under 6 up to England and stuff like that. So, he's bad. I don't know where he is, but he was such a nice guy, and I'm glad it was his glory. And I don't know what he made of that 7, because I don't think he was into lo-fi noise indie.
Funny that. We'll just quickly. I found a few more things. There's a Southall Riot 7-inch there. Which is on Victory Garden. We'll just quickly flash through them. I found Victory Garden were pretty famous for releasing really weird things. Irritatingly, I've got some of them and I can't find them. I do have this, which is Stephen Astley.
Oh, right, the lorry noises, from the lorry strike. It's 3.5 minutes of a lorry convoy going through Notting Hill Gate. That's Brilliant. What it is.
Yeah, love it.
But I mean, it sounds like a Stockhausen piece. It literally does. It's all in C. Lorry horns are all in the key of C. It's a fact.
There we are. Can't argue with that. And Phil was also in a band called Air Formation.
Oh, blimey, Air Formation.
Which we don't need to talk
about. Okay. 1830.
So we don't need to talk about it particularly. I just digging up old records.
No, I won't talk about them particularly.
No, I didn't think. I thought there might be some thing.
Yeah, it's all right.
Yeah,
it's all right. I like really enjoyed it while I was there. It was shoegazing, and I absolutely loved the job.
And the record I've been playing today in preparation is a split 12-inch.
Oh, look at that sleeve. Nice one.
It's Southall Riot. Oh, it's this way up. Yeah. And a band called Magnetic North Pole.
Yeah, Magnetic North Pole.
Yeah.
Sort of Magnetic North Pole was basically this guy called Alex Botton, who was in The Moths, who we also released a tape on Sides of Unequal Length of, and he now does sporadic solo stuff. Yeah. He was also in a band called The Moths. No, I've done that. He was in another band as well.
Anyhow. Yeah. So I'm just going it because it was. I don't know. I listened to it today, so I was in preparation, and it's kind of lo-fi, quite a lot of acoustic, strummy sort of vibe. It's quite nice.
Drums. Yeah, very few drums on that. I think there's probably only 3 tracks.
Yeah.
Sort of. I mean, it was meant to be a concept piece of the Day of Apollo Steve. It was meant to be the concept piece going all the way through. But at the same time, it was meant to be very based on like B1000, either side of B1000 by guided by voices. And it brought in, and we also had that trick of like having like little snippets of other songs which aren't actually on that record or on any other record. So I think it's called Truth for Advert in Music, and it's about like, you know, a minute and a half of all these little snippets of songs, like to prove we've got loads of songs. But there were also a couple of banging songs on there. We actually had a song in there which was taken off by Dom Earworm to be made as a single, A Warp in My Dreams. We used to bang them out.
I got other things as well, like in the garage and everywhere else. You released a lot, and that's cool. So yeah, it was really good. I was trying to think when we first. I was trying to think when we first met, and for some reason, I've got a feeling we met on the same day that I met Tom House back from episode 3.
That'd be a coincidence.
I have a feeling.
Where do you think it was?
I got a feeling we met at the Brighton Crawl in '98.
Oh, blimey! Yeah, no, I sort of. That's a good call. Vaguely.
And it was in a venue. I remember it being quite dark, and we just happened to be sitting near each other, and for whatever reason, we ended up talking about football.
I tell you what, was that Fridge? Like, did you go and see Fridge?
Yeah.
Blimey, hell, I've got a memory. Yeah, Hungry Horse, which is sort of now Charles Street, sort of is right on the corner, sort of opposite the pier. I tell you what, I do not remember this at all, but I'm now getting the flashbacks. You were talking about Brentford. We were probably talking about what the scores were that day or something like that. And I think Fridge, it was either Fridge or Magoo. I saw 2 bands up there on that crawl. It was either Fridge or Magoo, and I can imagine you being at either of those.
Yeah.
Blimey, yeah.
Yeah, I have a feeling that's when we met. So that's '98. And just let's just get into the records now rather than keep going on.
Oh God, yeah.
We can cover what you're wearing on your t-shirt there in a bit. Yeah, which is what you're currently doing. And I also want to cover when you toured with a band, which I'll just flash here. We'll cover that as well. But anyhow, so Mr. Phil Macy, Mr. Phil Victory Garden. Give me a record from your favourite record shop, please.
I'm going to. It's like my favourite record shop. Obviously, we've all been to billions of record shops. I've been to a few record shops. You can probably tell. No. It's and it's slightly contentious, but I'm going to do this because it just is. I've thought about this, for at least 25 minutes, and I think my record shop. I can't count Loughton Woolies as my record shop. So that's where I bought my first records, and it's I remember the Music and Video Exchange, the Record and Tape Exchange in Notting Hill Gate, and not just in Notting Hill Gate. It's like I'm going to cheat and say all of them. They would be my favourite record shops, and the one in Notting Hill Gate, 38 Notting Hill Gate. Would be the one that is basically, as a lad, I would go to, I'd cherish. When I left school at like 16, and all I wanted to do was work in a record shop. And it wasn't just I'll work in any HMV or Our Price. I was literally an elitist, snobbist 15-year-old, 16-year-old, and I wanted to work in a second-hand record shop. I didn't want to work for Tower Records. Right. And the Music and Video Exchange, or the Record and Tape Exchange it was then, was just this absolute mecca. It's just like racks and racks of just records, old records, different records, strange records. It's like there were dividers like nominally put in here and there, and you'd flick through and there'd be like £15 albums next to like £3 albums, and it's like trying to get an idea of what's rare and what's cool and what's there and what's not. And so I'd have to say that is, I hold up an interest. I ended up fulfilling my school leavers dream by getting a job there when I was 25. It took me a long time of like, you know, picking and packing in factories and working as porters in sort of hospitals before I got there. But I finally got there, and it was just kind of, you know, those first like 4 hours I was there, it was an absolute dream. And then I realised what a blooming awful slog it was. I went for badly paid and treated like absolute cack. But
the music industry.
Yeah, I know. Second-hand record shops are no different. They're no different. It's the same cack. You don't work in a second-hand record shop because you want sort of, you know, because you want to climb up the ladder. You work there because you're a bum, man. You work there because you're an artist. You work there because you're a musician. You don't want a job selling things to people. You could go and get a job in any cafe if you wanted to do that. You're just trying to buy time, get money to do what you want outside of work. And, you know, sort of the record and tape exchange was absolutely perfect for that. And I've been working as a porter. I've been working as a waitress. No. I've been working as a porter. Yeah. And for like years, and I decided I want to work in a record shop. I'm going to go for an interview, and I went for this interview up in Little Gate, Pembroke Road, and they were very. They said, "Yeah, okay, we'll give it to you." So that's fine. And then I went straight out, and I was so ebullient. I'm going, "Yeah, this is amazing." And I went to the shop down the high street, Notting Hill Gate, and I bought some records. And all I wanted to do was go up to the counter and say, "I'm going to be one of you next week." It's like sort of, but they were so moody and they were so like, so it's just, so all I did was go up there with my £2 Uncle Wiggly album, Uncle Wiggly, they're on shimmy disc. I got my, like, you can actually see where I tore off the blooming label. I used to do that before I knew the joys of lighter fluid.
Oh, right.
Yeah, it's tricks only tell you once you work there. Us plebs who don't work, they're ripping off like sort of labels. I know that you actually like to leave the labels on, don't you? You're a big fan of.
Well, I was just looking. Yeah, I was just looking down here to see if I had any records with the label still on, like, because I pick records for the guest and try and match up what I think. And I haven't, but I've got, this is Trampmaster Replica, of course, and I have kept the sticker on, but it's actually on the plastic.
That's not so bad. Yeah.
So, but I've kept the sticker, and I paid 20 quid for this in
that Reckless Records sticker. That one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See
him a mile off.
Yeah, exactly. I've got hundreds of music and video ones.
Yeah, it's I used to peel them off. I've never been a big fan of them, and especially when I worked there, it's like sort of, you know, if you want to buy a record, you don't stick on there. But anyway, I bought this Uncle Wiggly record, and I walked up to the counter, and I just wanted to tell the world that I was about to start a massive career being one of you moody, arrogant, sort of aloof tossers. And I was one of those for 8 years.
Yeah.
And this Uncle Wiggly album actually always makes me think of that day before I'd achieved my dream of like working. It's okay. It's a bit of a scrappy album, a bit lo-fi. They want to be a bit Syd Barrett. You know, it's no Galaxy 500, let's say. But
it's a £2 record. It's a £2 record right there.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it is. So sort of.
I think I remember you working in there. I do, like you and Derek. I think he was working in there at the time.
Yeah. Derek was in, like, sort of a Derek Walmsley, who's now Wire editor. Yeah. And Stu, sort of both worked in the accounts department. I didn't meet Stu for a good couple of years before, sort of after I started there, because I was a GA. I was going around all the shops like a general assistant. I was working in all the shops, which was great because you go around all the shops and check out all the bargains rather than being stuck in one shop and, you know, just only knowing what that stock was.
Yeah, that's cool.
And I never went to the accounts department because that wasn't my place.
So,
but I went there.
Yeah. So Stuart and Derek, who's now the Wire guy,
Yes,
that guy, were the Southall Riot band.
Sort of Derek was an absolute set. I think it was only the last two gigs he didn't play. We played all of them. I mean, he was our go-to keyboard player. I mean, sort of it's basically me and Stu were Southall Riot, and then we had a pickup band, as you say, session musicians, whatever you want to call them.
Yeah. So so one of the tours you did with that lineup was with Acid Temple.
Oh yeah.
And I believe this 7-inch is from that tour.
Yes, yes, it is. Monsters of the Universe, is that?
It's got like the dates on the back.
Yes.
It's a double 7-inch, and it's on Resonant, and Static Caravan.
Yes, yeah, that's Andy and Jeff.
So I saw the London
garage one. You saw the garage one. The garage one was meant to be upstairs.
Yeah, but it was downstairs, wasn't it?
Yeah, yeah. It's like sort of. I mean, it was meant to be upstairs, but it sold out double quick. Probably more because of Acid Mother's Temple than Southall, right? Okay, I held my hands up. But Urge Overkill were meant to be playing downstairs, and they are pulled out. So it was literally a no-brainer that it gets moved downstairs. Yeah. And it ended up with about 350 people there. It was like sort of, it seems it was booked into 100 capacity venue. And like sort of every gig was absolutely heaving. It was like sort of the first gig at Cork Lobby Bar. It's this tiny little bar upstairs of this small place. It like literally held 70 or 80 people. Yeah. And I tell you what, and Andy Smith on the door. He's letting them in. He's letting them in. It was getting more and more crammed. They're all up this. Listen, if you're going to stand on the stairs down there, you pay, okay? Even though you can't see, it's like sort of. It must have been literally 150, 160 people crammed in a tiny space. Sort of a Massive Mothers got held up on the ferry or missed their ferry. And literally only got there, 10 minutes before they were meant to be on. But luckily, we'd been carrying around the back line and we'd set up and we'd played our gig. So the mothers literally came off the ferry, like ploughed it down to Cork and went straight on the stage. And it was ecstatic. It was mental. Like I really don't think Cork had seen anything like it for ages.
Yeah, and because around that time, this album came out.
Oh yeah,
which is probably in regards to Acid Mother's Temple. I go in and out with them a bit and whatever else, but I think this album's pretty solid. I think this.
They did. There was a couple of albums around there. There's that and Lenovia as well. And I would literally say get Lenovia because it's a huge album. It is literally Ashra Temple, Popolvar. It's sort of, it's in that big sort of, league of great crowd. I do like that Absolute Freak Out album, isn't it? Absolute Freak. Yeah. I mean, it's got Incipient Light on it, hasn't it? The incipient light of everything or something like that.
The echoes,
which is there's a lot of squall on there, and like Acid Mothers have done 40, 50 vinyl albums. There is a lot of squall on there. I wouldn't expect anyone to blooming know every single one. I've got like 15 or something like that.
Yeah. Like I say,
mighty band, but
they're
a band I'll always go and see live because it's a mighty performance and you just get wrapped up in it. But one of those bands that you maybe don't want to obsessively collect every record that they've got.
I think the last we've played with them a couple of times, and I'm pretty sure the last time they took up virtually the whole venue with their merch table.
Well, yeah, they've got a million sim CDRs. They like sort of do all these editions of like 10 or 15 sim CDRs, and they all sell like sort of immensely. It's mad. They're like massive rarities. If you ever go to You know, I don't know, if you're ever homeless or penniless or anything like that, like borrow £15, go to an acid mother's like sort of thing, get yourself a CDR and then sell it and buy yourself a house in West Hampstead or something. I don't know, but I mean, sort of, you know, they're lovely guys. And Makoto and sort of Igashi are still, you know, two main guys, and they're lovely people. They are prolific, and they are truly they live what they are.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
So, and it's a bit of a. It's not necessarily something I've ever wanted to do. I wanted to work in a second-hand record shop. I want to tour the world, do 250 gigs every single year. You know, churn out CDs, but they do, and they do it really well. Great guys.
Hit me with a record with memory.
Yeah. I mean, so I think having watched a couple of your other like a sort of a tubes on this, it is right. You've said pretty much everything. When you buy a record, it's like pretty much all of them have a memory of some sort. I think ones that jumped out at me were when I went to Harlow College. I was 16 or 17, and I'd have to travel like 15 miles to get there. And it's like sometimes you have a lesson in the morning, and then you have like a lesson in the afternoon. You have like 2 hours or like 2.5 hours in between lessons. And I couldn't go home. So they had 2.5 hours. I didn't have any mates there. It's like it's just blooming. I was going to tertiary college in the middle of nowhere, doing blooming law and art that I wasn't interested in. So obviously you'd go to Harlow you'd go to Harlow Shopping Centre and you'd hang out in their two record shops, and they had Parrot Records,
right.
Which are quite famous in Essex and maybe the lower parts of East Anglia, and they'd have a sort of Our Price, and obviously Our Price is a bigger chain sort of thing, but the Parrot Records was absolutely amazing. And I only really thought like 10 years later what an amazing selection they had for Harlow Shopping Centre. And they had these import sections, and at the time you're talking like sort of 80, 86, 87, you'd have you know, singles would be maybe, I don't know, 99p or £1.29 or something like that. But like I'm in the import section, but they'd have all these import like records for like £3.50.
Yeah.
It's like £3.50 for a 7-inch. It's like I'm a student, I can't do this. And it's like I eyed this one up like every lunchtime for about 3 or 4 months. And it's the Chills Pink Frost on Flying Nun. I'll take out the sleeves so you can see it. And it's the original sort of, it got reissued about 2 years later, but this is on the original sort of matte paper label, something like that. And it was £3.50. And so I can't afford that. And I literally saved up. I walked, I'd get off the bus early and walk home for like sort of 3-4 days, because I thought I really need that record. My mate Kev Head had told me about the Chills. You know Kev Head. Sort of, you know, Kev is the head. You know, when I was younger, he told me a lot about bands and stuff like that. And the Chills was one, and this was it. And another one from Parrot as well that I got, which was exactly, I mean, it was the same price, but it was a double record, which shows how much sort of was Husker Du, the double pack of Sorry Somehow and All This I've Done For You. And it's like £3.50 was a hell of a lot to pay for a 7. And I'd go up there at you know, like 11:30 and just hang around pissing off the staff until like sort of 1:15. Normally not buying anything, but I bought that Chills record, which sort of another Chills record, the first one, Rolling Moon, I got from there. And yeah, Parrot was the one. There was also what was it? There was also a Hamill record, which I got from the Our Price. this one was sort of our price in Harlow Square. So I'm talking more about memories of Harlow rather than the record shop.
No, well, that's it. But it's good though. Like, throws you back, because I was the same, because I went to Amersham and Wickham College, it was called. I had to retake my GCSEs, so I had to go to college to retake them. But you have to get the bus from Berkhamsted, and the bus would take you about 3 miles, and you have to stop in Chesham for an hour every single day.
Blimey,
catch another bus to go to Amersham, and they're really quite near. But but there was a Track Records in Chesham, and
Track.
And every day we'd spend an hour in Track Records, just standing in
there, hanging around, irritating the staff.
Like, just chatting.
Good, like,
but not buying things. Yeah.
This like sort of Hamill record, the Peter Hamill, live at the Margin K record. It was out for like £8.99 or something like that. I can't afford £8.99. I'm a student. I'm a poor student. So walk out on the bus, and it went into the sale rack one day, and it's like, oh, it's come down to £5.99. Oh, it's come down to, well, and I can't afford £5.99. I'm a poor student. It went down to £4.99. So maybe I can afford it. I'm not that poor, is it? And it finally ended up going down to £2.99. It got like, because it was in the rack with no sleeve in it, it got like sort of I don't know, like crease marks down the side. It was getting a bit ratty and natty. £2.99. It's like I finally said, I'm having that. It's like, and I go up there, and the hour price, like, staff are triumphant that someone's, this hippie that's been walking around this shop for like 4 months has finally bought something and stuff like that. And it is the greatest live album of all time. It is like, and what makes it great is that he's taken off all of the audience noise. No audience noise. There's no introductions or anything like that. It sounds like a studio album, and it sounds like a stripped down, really. You can see where sort of Marky Smith or Lydon or Bowie. You can see where their influence from sort of Hamill comes from. It's Peter Hamill, Van de Graaff Generator. It's going to be prog rock. It's not. It is post-punk, pretty stripped down. Stark, uncompromising gear. And it's one of the greatest. I think it's the best live album.
Is that a gatefold sleeve?
Oh yeah.
Let's have a look.
Sleeve. I can't do it.
Yeah.
It stings all over. I need to take this out of the plastic sleeves because it's reflecting a bit. But it's
nice.
Thank you. See face. But yeah, so it was £2.99. It was worth waiting for, and Harlow hanging around in between lessons that I didn't give a flying fish about. I went to the record shops, and that's kind of
that's it though, isn't it? The memory isn't really about the music. The memory is about what around the music. It virtually always is. It's like, I remember getting that because I fell over and broke my leg that day, or I remember or whatever.
Oh, I'm coming on to that one.
But like that's you can pick up virtually any record and there's a story, right? So hit me with a bargain find, please.
Again, it's like sort of I'm a man who habitually trawls second-hand shops. I'm not Tower Records. I'm not blooming Acolytes, HMV, or whatever the other ones are. I go to car boot sales. I go to charity shops. I go there. It's like, bargains. I sort of have a lot. I've actually just thought about this now. I've known this question for ages, and I'm actually going to pull this out now.
Love it. Go through the racks.
Please be here. Oh yeah, here. Listen. So I moved down from Southall to the South Coast, Brighton area. I don't actually live in Brighton. It was New Haven I moved to, and I had this idea of leaving my job and going around, all the car boots and antique stalls, stuff like that, buying records, becoming a dealer, making it very rich, making a self-employed job out of this.
Yeah.
And when I moved down, like sort of the first week I was living in New Haven, I thought I'm going to travel over to Seaford. It'd be 3 miles east from here. You go down there. They got a lot of charity shops down there. So I travelled down there, and I walk in it was a Marie Curie record shop. No, a Marie Curie charity shop.
Yeah.
I think of it as a record shop because you are about to see this. And it's like I go through this, and the first charity shop I go to in Seaford, and on my endeavours to build up an empire of buying and selling records, which of course no one had thought of doing in 2002, had they? I was well ahead of the curve there. Anyway, I came up with this Audience album.
All right.
And I was thinking it's on Polydor.
Right.
It's 1970, and it's worth some. It's basically, and I was like, blimey, it's paved with gold. It's like Seaford and the whole south coast is paved with gold, and wherever I look, I shall find pennies from heaven. It's like sort of obviously. One of the downfalls of wanting to be a dealer and sell things on is you've actually got to sell things. So I'm talking about 19 years ago. I've still got that album. It's a great album.
Yeah, I don't know it at all. That band.
It's prog. I mean, it's early prog. It's like it's sort of, it's 1970s. It's good. It's good, early, decent, heavy, a bit sort of floral in places. Howard Worth went on. I'm sure Howard Worth went on to be in someone else. I can't think. But the Polydor label and like this. But yeah, it's not cheap to get, and this is in nice nick as well.
Right.
I did very soon find out that the streets down here, maybe every now and again, are paved with gold, but there's an awful lot of other portly middle-aged men, all like sort of searching for the same nirvana. That actually wasn't the one I was going to talk about, and I've totally forgotten. I'll tell you what, my first ever buy on eBay, the reason I joined eBay, it's not a record shop, I'm sorry about this, I'm going to talk electronic digital, but again, back in 2002, I hadn't been on eBay. I've either sniffed and sneered at it and stuff like that. But I was after this record, and it came up on eBay, and I'm like, blimey, like someone put it up for like sort of 99 cents or something like that. They were in New Zealand, and you'll see it's black. It's literally none more black. It's like sort of, let's see if your viewers can guess what this is. And it came up on eBay, and you never see it anywhere. The label's black. There's a screen print on the front. This is the Pin Group's first record, and it's Flying Nun #1, FN001. Came out in 1981, and I was thinking, my God, I need that record. You'll never see it over here. I was up for that. And I ended up winning it for, I think, $49, which this is when the American exchange rate against the pound was pretty much half what it is. Yeah. So it was about 23, 24 pounds with postage. Again, postage isn't the madness it is now. Yeah. And I ended up paying about £29 for this record, the first Flying Nun record. Roy Montgomery's on this, and like Peter Stapleton, Ross Humphreys. It's a legendary record. Right. It goes for like 400 or 500 now. And I didn't have PayPal. And this bloke's in New Zealand, and he was a really like some uncommunicative person. And in those days, 2002, you had to wait 7 to 9 days to get a PayPal account even opened, let alone put money in there and then pay people. And I was cacking myself that he was saying, no, I'm not waiting that long. I'm selling this for like 100 quid a day. But he did. He hung on for like sort of 2 weeks for me to actually get around to paying him stuff like. And so that's the story of how I got the first Pin Group record, which is only slightly bettered by paying 1 cent on Christmas Day from America for AK-79, which is New Zealand punk from 1979. You can probably guess. It's Proud Scum, sort of the Scavengers, Tearaways, Swingers, Primers, Toy Love. It's like there was this big punk scene in Auckland before Flying Nun, and this bloke listed a load of New Zealand stuff. Like this bloke in America listed a load of New Zealand stuff to end at like sort of 4 o'clock on Christmas Day in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning on Christmas Day, and he started them all at 1 cent. And it's like I picked up like 12 inches, like sort of for probably like 84 cents. This went for 1 cent. Again, postage from the US to here was a lot better back then. And so you don't get bargains like that these days.
No, I don't think I've bought a record from America for 5 or 6 years. Because you say for one, it used to be about 50p to the dollar.
Oh.
And the postage was like better than half than what it is now. Like postage now is like 23 or 24 quid for LP from America to here, and to be honest, it's not much better the other way. So
no, that's right. We're doing the same thing, aren't we?
We've done the same.
We literally closed ourselves in. I mean, so it's mental. There was like about 5 years ago, there was a huge hike, and you think, well, that's got to do it for something. But every single hike since has been like sort of, and sort of in the past year, what was it? Last July, there was, I don't know. It like sort of went up by like $8 for like a 12-inch, like 6 quid, 6 quid more. And
when it comes to like when it comes to like digging up records like that, I would buy it cheap, but I'm happy to buy like reissues. So I've got like reissues of stuff.
Oh yeah,
like this is like a double 12-inch. It's got like.
I know that very well.
Yeah, so it's like.
I bought the original of that, sort of again, 86, 87. I got that from Rhythm Records in Camden. And it's like again, it was probably like 8 quid or 9 quid, and then managed to get some over, and like it hadn't been massive import duty or tax or something like that.
So you've got like Flying Nun #1. This is Flying Nun number 540.
Yeah. Isn't that captured tracks by 540?
It's like Chills, Sneaky Feelings, Stones, and Verlaines, just early 12 inches or 7 inches, whatever, by these bands. It's quite a nice little package, but
it's a great double 12. That one, it really is. It's I remember getting that, and when I first got that, I played it to absolute death, both sides. It's like, so I think I've collected everything by pretty much everything by all 4 bands on there that I can get my hands on. Sort of
one of the I think one of the first Flying Nun related, I think it's Flying Nun, was I picked up a CD in Music and Video Exchange. I think it was for a film. I don't even know if it's a real film, called Topless Women Talk About Their Lives.
Oh, is that the Axeman? I mean, is that sort of, that's not
all Flying Nun bands on it, like I Love My Leather Jacket, type songs.
Oh, right, okay.
So it's just I think it's a Flying Nun thing, and it's just Flying Nun bands, and it's a soundtrack to a film called that. I think if it's a real film, I don't even know.
If I've got that. Yeah, it's probably not actually. It's probably just some sort of band. Oh yeah, it's sort of an interesting thing. It's like sort of I'd be interested if there was anything on it that I didn't have.
Yeah, I'll dig it up and we can talk some other point. Yeah. But it's just a CD, but I was just an example of the crap that you can pick up in Music and Video Exchange, just buried in the racks. Exactly. Because at that point, did they just have the covers? Like you flick through the sleeve?
Yeah. Well, with CDs, they did exactly what you did with the vinyl. You only had the sleeves on, sort of show, and like you went through them, and you had to go to the file. You know, you had to take it up to the counter so they get it to the file.
Yeah, and there would be like about 500 CDs in about this amount of space, and you'd be like,
yeah, exactly.
Like this, and I'm not really a big CD buyer, but I'll pick one up for £1 or £2 if it's like a decent comp.
That's right. I mean, I'd say this Flying Nun lost me a bit about 93, 94. They stopped releasing things on vinyl. They released very few things on vinyl. And I just didn't. I only bought my first CD player in 1998.
Right.
Sort of from the sort of, and it was literally, I was working at the music and video exchange in 1998, and they had a second-hand hi-fi shop, and it's just this perfectly serviceable old blooming 1987 CD came in, and I bought it for £5 vouchers. It's like it wasn't even real money. But like 1998, that was the first time I bought a CD. So I just lost. I had this massive just clearing out of bands in the early to mid 90s. If you didn't release things on vinyl, I didn't buy your stuff. And it's quite good. It was quite good. Now it's certainly with the prices of some of the blooming vinyl that from that era, that there was only like 500 done. It's impossible to get now.
Yeah, we talk about it.
I'm glad I bought it.
Yeah, we talk about it a lot. The whole backing the horse fit for glue through the 90s. Yeah, everything, like even from like to Oasis albums or whatever, ending up being worth a lot, right? Even though they probably made a decent amount, but just way not enough, of like even big releases. So yeah,
that's right. So I've got the first two Oasis albums here. It's like, I never listened to them. I don't particularly love it, but there were probably like 5,000 to 10,000 done. It's like 10,000. It's probably 10,000. It's like a massive amount. Like sort of, and now it's like obviously like millions of people want them. It may have been more than 10,000. No, maybe I'm saying it.
Another one is
all that stuff like Arclight and Pulp and all those Britpop bands. It's like the CDs are worth like 20 pence. And like the vinyl's worth like 80 quid.
I know. And I don't really care about value. And as I say, I'm happy to buy reissues because really I don't care, and I just want the music. I really don't care. Hence this sort of stuff. But the one that really stunned me recently, and I only noticed it really because it got reissued, was Dry, the PJ Harvey debut.
Oh right, yeah, blimey.
It was on 2 Pure. It came with a demo version of the album, so it was a double. And on the one that I've got, it's like a sticker there, and it's like 5,000 they pressed of their debut, like when it first came out. And then when I noticed that they were reissuing it, I did have a quick nosy look at what the value of like the early PJ Harvey vinyl was, and it was quite stunning.
So I've not looked into it. I mean, it's 3 figures, isn't it? It's
It was no wonder that it was getting reissued.
What took you so long?
Exactly. What the hell have you been doing?
It is. I mean, it's always the difficult thing about like sort of, things are worth money, and it's an investment, or to sort of as I said with the like audience album, it's like you get a nice album. Actually, it doesn't matter how much it's worth. You're not going to blooming sell it. No. It's like it's just, maybe I could sell it, and maybe it's been reissued. I could probably get a CD of it for £2 or something like that. But like the physical artifact is so beautiful. It's so original. It's so authentic. That it literally transcends the value that it is theoretically if you put it on Discogs, if you put it on eBay. It's like you just want to hang on to it. It's all worth 50p. It's like, so it's all worth whatever. I do not hunt out rare records. I would always advise people not to do that. I would always say just buy what's being released now, because what's being released now is the shit of worth in the future. And just buy reissues of the old stuff. Just buy reissues of the old stuff because it's just music, and who gives a shit? So, literally 10, 15 years, all the new stuff. It's like, it's gold. It's gold.
So just buy what's new now, buy what you like. Yeah.
Cool.
Where are we? Hit me with.
I don't know. I've no idea, mate. Where are we?
Nope. Record bought on tour, and I think we have caveats here, so go for it. Record bought on tour.
Yeah. I did that tour with the Acid Mothers like 2001, and it was it was 8 dates and stuff like that. That's the biggest tour I've ever done. It's like I was in a band called Kashmir Twist, and we'd line up 3 dates around London. The Bull and Gate, the Philm Swan, and I don't know, the Walthamstow Standard. And it's like, it's a tour, and it's like, yeah, whatever. So it's like sort of, like to get round that fact. I've never felt myself a touring musician. I've always tried to talk my missus into going on exotic holidays to places that
I know where this is going.
Yeah, you can see it coming. You know that in 1995 I went on holiday to New Zealand, don't you? It's just I jet lagged, tired. Oh yeah, oh no, I'm going to sleep for the first day. I'm going up to Seriously Groovy, up like Victoria Street, and I'm going through their bargain bin starters. So it has actually panned out that there were quite a few countries in the world which nice to go on holiday to, and also had decent vinyl hanging around. The most recent example of this would be we went to Cuba. We went to Cuba in 2017. And there was a lot I wanted to see if I could find, stuff like that. But like sort of a lot of countries, you want to call them second world or third world countries, it's like record shops aren't their priority. It's like, there's a lot of people on subsistence living, and a lot of people living in houses which aren't necessarily what health and safety would say are fit to live in this house. And it's like you realize what absolute luxury it is in our country, even with the diminished amount of record shops we have. Like, the butchering of record shops over the last 25 years, we're still blessed. We still have like sort of a beautiful amount. And so I can actually only find one record shop in the whole of Cuba. Neptuno, down Neptuno Street, I think it was called Neptuno, sort of in Havana, and but it was stacked. It was packed with vinyl. This guy must have every blooming record in the whole of Cuba. It's like, bring him here. Like, and of course he knows that tourists go there as well. It's like sort of, he's not stupid. Record dealers aren't. They know how much things cost. And it's so you walked into this kind of indoor parade, or what you thought was going to be an indoor parade of shops, sort of off the main drag of Havana. And it's kind of, there's counter all the way around, and we've got people over here who like do shoes. There's people over here who sell, I don't know, maybe they're stitching things, repairing stuff like that. And then right at the back, like some sort of glorious monument, it's like there's just the racks and racks of vinyl. It's just like, oh, blimey, you're ploughing there. And I went in there on the day we got there, and then the day before we left. It's
priorities. Got the priorities right.
Yeah, it's like so. Well, sort of. I'd learned my lesson from like '95 in blooming New Zealand, where I went straight to the record shop. We were in New Zealand for like 4 or 5 weeks, and I went straight to the record shop, bought loads of records, but I promised the missus that we would actually go hiking, and we would go up to like some nice places and storm around. And of course, after a week, it's like I've got a rucksack just full of vinyl. I'm trying to like sort of, you're blooming ploughing up these great glaciers with blooming rucksacks full of like sort of Dead Sea and chills and straight jacket fits on your back. It's silly tart. I've kind of forgotten about. Oh yeah. So we're in Neptuno, Cuba. In like sort of Cuba. And there's one shop. So the first time I go there, I'm going through all the albums on the racks and stuff like that. And that's good and cool. I picked out a few. There's loads of things, obviously loads of things from Russia because of the Cuban political situation. There was sort of imported a load of stuff from Russia as well. Loads of stuff from like sort of certain places in Africa, like Angola. Oh, right. I picked up, they were actually Spaniard, but these Angolan Queen singles, like sort of, you know, Killer Queen and Seven Seas of Rye, they're actually rare as gold dust. These are actually broken. I didn't buy them, but they go for like 400 or 500 quid. Like an Angolan Queen single from, you know, 1974. And of course, there was a lot of trade between Cuba and all the countries, all the sort of, you know, communist countries around the world. So you see a lot of these sort of things. I got a couple of Russian Beatles albums and stuff like that. And I went back sort of the second time. And I went through all the sevens because I've been through all the albums first time. There was this big cardboard box of sevens. It was like, it was probably up to my waist, up to about there. I don't think that gives any sort of there. And it was piled up on top. And you think, I've got to go through every single one. I've got to go through everything. It's like piling through them, picking them out. There's a piling through. And I got to the rim of the box. Which I just said was about sort of waist height. And I'm taking out all these records and I'm putting them on. So all of a sudden, I catch a bit of movement. That was on my eye. Oh, okay. Yeah, carry on piling up the records, taking up the records, and I was putting records up. A couple of us, and so I take up 3-4 more records, and the box is infested with cockroaches. It's just absolutely blue. It's like I start taking them up, and it's like, oh my good God! And so there, you have the ultimate record collector decision. How dirty do you go? How deep down into that box do you go? Because you know it's only going to get worse. You know that they've not been hanging around in the top levels. But you know there's some classic fucking bangers down there. Some classic bangers down there. But the cockroaches, they're the guardians of that thing. And it's like, so I am there, and it's like the blooming, I'm looking at my hands, and it's like sort of, you know, the lighting wasn't good, and I'm thinking, oh, what is it? And I'm taking them all out, and the owner of the shop's like standing there, like, you know, staring at me. And
what you got?
How far down do you go? It's like, and I got about a foot further down, probably about to my knee height. And it was just, there was just too much action, too much living action in that box of sevens. And God knows what's the bottom. All the real rare ones at the bottom, aren't they? It's like sort of the ones that all the big collect. Your Giles Peterson, he wouldn't care, would he? He'd be there, like, oh, I'm going to take it. Oh, stop the cockroaches. I need the rare Cuban. I need the rare Cuban records. I came up with this record, Los Veros.
All right.
They were big Cuban band in mid 60s, early 60s. You see the sleeve. Maybe the cockroaches have got at it. It's a bit battered. It's also empty. Yeah, I know. That's right. But I'm looking at that, and there's something in me made me want to pay $3 Cuban dollars, or cooks as they're called. I just wanted that. I just it was there. And
there's not even a record there. You don't even have the record.
No, it's just a sleeve. It's just a sleeve. So I bought this along with like 70 or 80 other records that God Almighty. And at the beginning of February, because I instantly it's like sort of put a want on Discogs for it. I go, right. Beginning of February, some guy in Cuba, ping, pops up. He's got the record, but no sleeve, and he's like he wants $15 for it or something like that. So about 12 quid or something like that. And I'm like, I'm paying that. I don't care. It's like, it's in Cuba. It's kind of, his feedback was good. He seemed like a really nice guy. And middle of February, I paid him, and he gave me the tracking number for it. And it's like, here I am 10 weeks later, looking at a tracking. It got from his shop to Havana Customs in like 5 weeks. and it's been at Havana Customs ever since. And I'm just looking at it. It's just one day I will fill this.
It could even be the record. It could be the record from that sleeve as well.
Yeah. No. It's like I'll never know those things. It's like, unfortunately, I say unfortunately, so sort of if someone had written their name on here, and it's like sort of when the record turned up and they'd written it on the label as well, it would just be, there you go. I've actually done the whole of humanity a service. And I'm waiting for this. It's like, I expect actually for you to do another whole blooming YouTube edition on this record.
Have you listened? Do you know the song? Have you listened to it?
So I got an album of theirs by the same sort. I don't know these 4 tracks, but I did get an album by them, which is over there, which it's okay. It's like sort of, there is bolero on there, as it says, but there is calypso on there. There is a couple of rocky things. There's a great Cuban band called the Buccaneros, who actually did some great garagey rock and roll on EPs back in '65 or '66. Obviously, listening to blooming Florida radio and hearing like sort of whatever. Sort of garage thing. So it's out there. But that, I think, is what I can do for the tour.
It's your holy grail. It's your holy grail is to match those two up together. All
over the world, sleeves.
The thing is, with like your record shops like that in Cuba and Brazil, in particular, like I watch a lot of YouTube chats with like hip hop producer type characters who will do enormous trips to Brazil and Cuba and go through all the record shops, and will go through the cockroach infested boxes, and will dig up the record that will change their whole lives because it's a sample that they're going to use on a Public Enemy song or whatever.
And if you can afford to do that, why? Literally, why would you do that? It's if I had, as I said, I got about that far to the bottom of the box. There were people out there who would be down there at the bottom, and good luck to them. These are the people, they care more than me. And you think, if you care more than me, then blimey, do you bloody well care?
Well, hit me with a record that people wouldn't think that you'd dig.
There's actually quite a few. The instant one that sprung to mind would be, I'm gonna dig it out here. Oh no, I've just dropped a bargain. It's like, so there was a bargain I was going to go for. I'll have to come back to that. It's like, no, actually, I'll go back to the bargain. Sorry, so I'm getting all random here. They're all falling about.
Who's driving this ship? Who's driving this ship? It's me. I'm driving this ship.
Who cares? It's anarchy in the UK, isn't it? It's like, so we're going back to you also mentioned about the sort of music and video change labels going down the side. For example, for anyone who doesn't realise, it's like this. See this?
Oh yeah.
It's like there's 12 dots, so there's 12 spaces, and every 2 weeks or a month, however much they feel like, they mark it down £1.
Yeah.
You say this is my signed version of Spaceman 3. Taking drugs, make music. Take drugs, take more music, make music. Which went down from 25 to 10. I don't know why I kept that on there, because I normally take them off. But Tom Waits, The Black Rider. I don't know if anyone knows this.
Yeah.
But they had a white label test pressing. The Black Rider. The test pressing is, and this is the one record I regret taking the labels off of. You can see over here that there was label. So there was one label there, there was another label there, and there was another label underneath it. And I know on that bottom label, so there were 3 labels there. On that bottom label, they're just given up with the sort of boxes, and they started going over the writing at the bottom. It started, I think, 30 or 40 pounds, and I ended up buying it for 50 pence. This is a Black Vader. You can see it's an Antillean test press.
Cool.
And, yeah. And that is sort of, it's superb albums. Most Tom Waits albums are. And the actual original release of that is a big amount. So I don't know, you get obsessives who want a test pressing and you'd imagine it more, but it had been there. If you say the 3 labels, going down £1 every time, there's 12 boxes.
That's why I keep them on. I showed a Rodan record, episode 2. There's a Rodan record, and that started at like 9 and ended up at like 4 or something. And so I keep it on because it's just that I love the little story of epic failure.
No, that like started at 34 quid. It's a massive 3 label story of like sort of diswant or sort of unneeded. And I ended up I would have paid 50p for that in vouchers. I didn't even pay cash for it. It's like it was so unwanted. And
it's how I made, like, if you work in the music industry in London, you don't get paid enough, and you need to make money somehow. So the money what bulked me up was selling records that I got from the job I had, which was at a distributor. I would take them down to Music and Video Exchange and exchange them, but more often than not, I would just go vouchers and buy records with vouchers and go, damn it.
You got 50% more in vouchers. And basically, if you're going to spend it on wax anyway, or like CDs, you're going to spend it on wax, you might as well get more bang for your buck. And
it used to excite me too much, and I would be like, oh yeah, okay, I'll have 50 quid's worth of vouchers rather than 25 in cash. That means over the next few lunchtimes I can come in here and just browse through and think,
spend it. It's not real money. It's like, I'm not sure whether I ought to say this or not, but the people who work there get 10% of their wages in vouchers. So I think it's maybe I shouldn't be saying this out in public, but I think it's some sort of tax scam where we all got given 10% of our wages in vouchers. So it had to be spent there, and so it didn't include as actual money, and so that's.
Wow. Okay, that is interesting.
Let's move on from that.
I didn't know that. Seems a little bit...
I'm not sure people are meant to. Maybe we would get the lawyers involved.
There's no editing on this, I'm afraid. Sorry. Okay. Hit me. Sorry. Where are we? Are we?
Yeah. You'd asked me a question, and I completely ignored you.
Hold on. Calm. I am driving this ship. You're taking it off the. Hit me with a record that people wouldn't think that you'd dig.
Oh yeah, blimey O'Reilly. It's got to be. You see, I've just thrown that out of place somewhere. I reckon it would have to be. I'll just get straight to it. I won't even say the S Express, Mantra for a State of Mind. I actually bloody love S Express. I really do. I first heard this, I'd already got into a S Express, a mate's band, some mates are in a band called the Acolytes of the Sun. They did have a drummer, they used samples, and they were kind of goth industrial rock, and they had a drum machine, and they used samples, and they were like sort of in '88 sampling S Express. I very much got into them through that. And that first track they released, Theme from S Express, is an absolute banger. It's like sort of, it's literally any dance floor gets going as soon as you put that on. And this one, Mantra for a State of Mind, I heard it for the first time while
that's the song length. It's 11 minutes long. Is that right?
Yeah. It's like sort of. They did what I mean. Sort of. This is the Amella Vanvation mix. They invariably did a lot of different mixes of each track they released. I've got 3 12-inches of this. This is the big one. It was on 7 as well, but really, this is club music. This is dance music. This is, you want it to, when you hit a good groove, you just want it to go on for literally ever, or at least 10 minutes. I'd hold this up there. It's like sort of people bang on about that sort of Patrick Cowley remix of Donna Summer, I Feel Love. Sort of, I would literally put this up there with easily as good as that. I've heard it for the first time when I was actually packing a lorry in Milton Keynes. I was working in a warehouse in Milton Keynes, like sort of autumn of '89. And I'm packing this lorry in a pick and pack blooming warehouse. And this song, and they've just got generic daytime radio playing over, and it's all the same blooming stuff. So, and then all of a sudden you have this so all right, you think, what the hell's that? It's acid house. It's acid house is playing on daytime radio, and they played Manchester State of Mind, and I recognise it, and you feel, oh, dance music all sounds the same, all blooming sounds like exactly the same. And I thought to myself, and I've never heard the song before, I thought that sounds like S Express. I'm into Dinosaur Jr., I'm into like Husker Du, I'm into blooming, you know, Marillion and ELO and Status Quo, and I was like, but I know that is S Express, and it was. And obviously when you get that realization for yourself, you don't have anyone else telling you that, oh yeah, this is this or this is that. And I went out and I bought the 7, and the 7's okay. And then I got this for like 50p or something like that. You can buy this literally for 50p or £1 on like Discogs. When people say there aren't any bargains left, if you're into dance music, if you're into house, if you're into Essex house or something like that, literally pick this up for the Elevation mix, like sort of like the B-side, Special and Golden. It's no shabby blooming number. But Manchester State of Mind, and most S Express actually, I absolutely love. Second album was not quite his first album.
Yeah, because I was guitar, through the 90s, 80s especially into the early 90s, I was like guitar only, and then you do, because that's how we were, like just down one little burrow of genre music or whatever.
Yeah,
and I thought it all sounded the same. But then there was a moment for me where it clicked, where it's like, oh, actually, you can tell it all. Once you realise, then it just changes everything. Like if you hear Aphex Twin, it's Aphex Aphex Twin. You hear Boards of Canada, it's Boards of Canada. And
exactly.
that goes through the Orb, all the big, just talking about the big ones that reached our world. You knew, as soon as you twigged, and as soon as you opened your mind a little bit away from your teenage sort of little box that you were in, you realise
that's exactly what. So the Orb were the first band who I would openly admit easily that I loved. It's like sort of the Little Fluffy Clouds came out and the other side, and it's like sort of they were a dance band. They were nothing but a blooming dance, it was a housey sort of band, and they were the first band. So 1990, 1991, 1990 probably. And they were the first band who I'd turn around and say, no, I like the Orb. And it goes like this. And there is not a screaming guitar solo anywhere through it. There's not some lank-haired bloke like sort of moaning about like how, he doesn't care so much about his surroundings or stuff like that. It was. I
think like UF Orb is a classic album.
Oh yeah, no, it is.
I love that record. I got it. It's another one. I got CD and vinyl. And I got the dog. I've got to keep the dog entertained, so I've got a little ball light occasionally to keep him quiet.
Yeah. Sort of, I've been doing that with my son. Actually, I've got to keep him away from me. Up you go, Sam. It's no. I mean, sort of like them all the Orb ones. Yeah. I've got down there. It's like sort of. I was literally. I mean, sort of. I went over to Denmark. Me and the missus. August '94 to see the Orb play off a little island off the edge of Denmark, stuff like that. But it was just that whole thing. Express was kind of like sort of what I don't think I have guilty secrets now. I think I'll just tell you what it is, and if you don't like it, don't. But at the time, it's like sort of you're into guitar and you like S Express, and it just like to just hold that round the sort of side. And I don't stab that because I was interested.
There was a moment for us in our age group when you either bought the Prodigy's Experience or you bought Spiderland by Slint.
Yeah.
There was like this weird dividing, and it was like, okay, yeah, no, I'm Prodigy, so I'm going to go and hang around in fields on the outskirts of London. I'm Slint. I'm going to hang around in my bedroom just working out time signatures of math rock, and really, this one's better.
Yeah, it's like sort of, it's one of them's a lot more bloody fun, isn't it? It's like, it's like sort of, for me, it was either I like sort of, banging along to Freak Scene by Dinosaur Jr. with my hair down over my head, or it like sort of, as you say, I'm in a blooming field in Bletchley. It's like sort of, sort of 4 a.m, giving it big. Oh my word, those were the days.
Yeah, okay. We're on the last subject. Before we start the last subject, it's going to be favourite 10-inch and the merits of. But before we start, I just want to talk about a 10-inch that I've got here, and it's one that I sort of released on a little label I ran called Lone Hand.
Yes, I remember it.
On a label called Lone Hand. And this is the last of the real hard men. It's a 10-inch.
I do think I have it.
Yeah, it's really nice looking label. It's Chris Summerlin from the rock band Hey Colossus and Lords and Wolves of Greece and everyone else, Kogamasa. It's a really lovely looking thing. Pressed 77 of them. It's a 10-inch. And it was cut.
Tens are up there, but I'm pretty sure I have one.
Yeah, it was cut by Mr. Peter King in New Zealand. And Mr. Peter
May
King,
I just?
Yeah, Mr. Peter King was a lathe cut maker and still is, I believe, although I've got a feeling
still is.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some problems with his eyes, actually, which put him out. I'm hoping that's better. But he had some eye problems, which actually stopped him lathe cutting for a bit.
So it took months to get it. I had to deal with him by fax.
What year was this? 2005, 2006?
Yeah, I can't remember. I had to fax him and phone him and everything else. It's even got, you're not going to be able to see this. It's got his details there that came in a tiny little piece of paper that's for scale. Here are my eyes. But I loved it. And this one here is number 44 of 77 that I pressed. There's the label logo. Anyhow, so it's a lathe cut. And the reason I mention this is related to the T-shirt that Mr. Phil Macy is wearing. Stand up and show your T-shirt, please. There we are. 3, 4, 5 lathe cut manufacturing company.
Should I go closer? Closer. It's
Mr. Phil Macy manufactures now lathe cuts in the UK on the south coast in the town of New Haven.
Seaford.
Seaford.
New Haven's a bit 2014.
Right. Okay. Right.
It's like sort of. I actually sort of I moved from New Haven to Seaford, and then finally had enough space that I could set up a lathe cutting thing.
Yeah. So I looked at your website, and there's a claim that you've cut and pressed over 20,000 records there.
I haven't pressed any records. I've pressed 0 records.
You know what I mean.
Okay. I know what you mean, but I'm gonna get it right. Because everyone says press, and I don't press records, and I don't press vinyls. I cut vinyl.
Sorry.
Like in its singular. I know. I'm not having a go at you. I'm staring at the screen.
I'm backing away.
It's like just back off. It's But I cut records one by one. It's probably coming up to about 30,000 now. It's officially, I don't know. I updated the website a couple of days ago. I think about 28,000 that I've done, and obviously I've done a few others. So it's quite a bit out there. I'd like to talk about Pete King, because like sort of the Pete King is literally sort of, you know, he is the lathe father. Sort of for me, he's got the added benefit of being from New Zealand, sort of like he did all sort of those early expressway label things. And you know, the New Zealand underground I was interested in when I'd like sort of, you know, Scorched Earth, buying all the Flying Nun stuff. You then look at the underground stuff, and it's like sort of Pete King had just been knocking out these like sort of you know, sort of, these really obscure sort of, you know, I mean, especially noise stuff all over the place. I actually, I was in a band in the sort of before South of Riot. I was in a band called Kashmir Twist, and this is 95 to 96, and we weren't vastly successful. We like did a few records, and we did 500 of them, and you can get them on Discogs for like pennies, or you can just like sort of write to me and, you know, save the buying anything. You know, you just send me the postage, you'll get them for free. But it's like we decided that we wanted to do an album because we had some really good stuff. Just because it doesn't sell for anything, it doesn't mean it's not good. Nice. And we did the Pete King lathe cut of the Kashmir Twist album, awesome. Which never came out in any other form. And I've actually still got all the blooming paperwork there. Again, as you say, it's like sort of it's clear, it's lovely.
They're beautiful.
I do actually,
they are beautiful, and it was always my ambition. I released 2. I did this one and a Fupper one, which was Simon Hughes, who's in the previous episode to you.
Right. Yes.
Show it in that one, so I'm not going to hold it up again. I only released 2. Took ages. The cost was
that took about 9 or 10 months to actually finish, because it's so you're talking 96 to 97. So sort of we didn't have internet. The people had internet then, but I didn't. He didn't. He still doesn't actually. I think Pete King still doesn't have internet, but no one had the blooming internet there. No. And you had to write, and you had to phone, and as you said, fax. It's like sort of, you know, money transfers. We're like, well, how'd you do this? It's like sort of, you know, this is only 25 years ago. It's not like sort of, you know, 150 years ago. But it took about 8 months, and sort of the album actually very charmingly has come back with the last track on side A being put on side B, then there being like sort of, you know, a 30-minute space, a 30-second space. And the last track on side B just isn't on the album at all. It's just not there. It's like sort of, and I'll tell you what, after 8 or 9 months of like sort of, you know, to and fro, you finally get all the albums. So you're not going to send them back. You're not going to say, "Oh, Pete, man, you're going to have to do those again." So you've got a totally wrong album, which is badly, you know. So that's
legend. Lathe cuts. Initially in New Zealand, and it was always my ambition to do 1 or 2 with him, just because of, as you say, absolute legend, and you just wanted to experience it, and then holding one, and they're kind of you're gonna put me wrong here. You're gonna tell me I'm wrong, but they're like not quite as thick as vinyl, but clearly better and whatnot than flexi discs. So it's somewhere in between. You're gonna tell me otherwise, probably. But now you're doing them in the UK, and you're doing a great service.
Well. The thing, I'm reluctant to like do down Pete King in any shape or form. It's the lathe I use is probably a better it's either the lathe I use, probably the diamond needle I use, or it's the blanks that I use. But it's a lot clearer. It's a lot clearer sound. I think possibly Pete embosses onto softer wax, whereas I actually carve the groove, but I don't want to go into. For me personally, if you want a lathe cut, it's like sort of I'd check Pete first. get a Peking lathe cut and then think about quality afterwards, because I do think having a Peking lathe cut is the coolest rock and roll thing you could humanly have in life.
Exactly. So you've done a lot of cuts, I think you've done a lot of lathe cuts for this label, which is
oh blimey, Fruits of the Mer, yeah.
Fruits of the Mer. I'm trying to find a logo that's big enough, but it's tiny.
Yeah.
You've done a lot for this label.
Yeah, there's some great stuff coming out. The Fruits of the Mer, sort of, that's head music. That's one, and I think he's gotten to the third head music now.
Yeah,
and it was weird with Fruits of the Mer, because I was into the Fruits of the Mer label long before I had a lathe sort of cutter. 4 years, 5 years, and at first it's like you think, oh, it's just a covers label or stuff like that. But he started doing these artists which weren't just doing covers.
Yeah.
Bob, sort of in your first interview in this, I think you interviewed Bob, and we talked about the Cranium Pie guy who was in sort of who works in a shop, and I can't remember his name or the shop or what it is. But it was in Cranium Pie, and it was, I think, 2011, 2012. Fruits of the Mer released this Cranium Pie album, Mechanisms.
Yeah.
And so I was just buying everything off the label there. Just cover versions. And this band Cranium Pie released this album, Mechanisms, and it's all original stuff. And it's a mind blower. It's an absolute banger of an album. Cranium Pie, can I find it? Crass, what we got?
Yeah, Crass, definitely.
Yeah, I'll bring out the Crass, the box set. No, I have it. It's great. It's that easy. It's like, so Crass can go back for the next one. The Cranium Pie album on Fruits of the Mer. It's like, so I think it's difficult to get now for any reasonable price. I've got some inserts in there, I think this is the rare black one. I think it's harder to get the red vinyl one. Right. There's Cranium Pie. That's just to bring you back to what Bob was saying initially.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah.
That. But I've done a lot of. I mean, it's a very good sort of Keith at Fruits of the Mer is an extremely good customer to me. Mr. Keith, yes, you're here again. This is good.
Yeah.
And I've cut some, and I would say I found the band Insect Life Cycle through Keith. He sent me this glorious track called Sun Gaze by Insect Life Cycle. This is 2016. And they're an instrumental rock band from the Philippines. And if they weren't in the Philippines, we'd be able to market them over here. We'd have to do something with them. We'd have to get them going. But it's very difficult. It's like, but everyone who hears them, it's like sort of, that's good music. That's great music. It's instrumental. It's psyche. It's proggy. Insect Life Cycle. And I've ended up lathe cutting a whole album for them, which I don't know if I can find now. I'll see. Fine. Yeah, there you go. This is a lathe cut album of the Insect Life Cycle.
Yeah.
And I got this off. We're meant to be talking about 10 inches, aren't we? It's this is a 12-inch, and it's a really good.
Yeah.
They did this in 2.5 hours. They recorded a jam in 2.5 hours, and nice. It's brilliant.
Yeah. No.
I am going to try and.
Yeah, the 10-inch thing. The 10-inch thing for me is just about the size of the format and the what you think of it and whatnot. But actually, the lathe cut stuff is kind of more interesting in a way.
It is vastly interesting. Obviously, I make a living out of it and stuff like that. I will. So, will you give me just 2 minutes to talk about 10 inches? It's there's obviously always buy Stereolab 10 inches. It's like Stereolab 10 inches. They're probably all on the switched on blooming compilation albums they do and all that lot.
Yeah.
And I actually had a great lathe cut that I had out from recently. Matters is on 10-inch. Matters is on Static Caravan. They're called Matters, and it's how you spell Matters.
Yeah.
And a brilliant one on Bracken, which is like different versions of the Kinks record, I Go to Sleep.
Right, cool.
I like 10 inches. I don't see it problematic at all. It's like all your 1930s jazz records and like orchestral. They're all 10-inch. It used to be the, you know.
Yeah, I've got a really lovely Frank Sinatra 10-inch, actually.
What, on 78?
Yeah, like a 10-inch one, and it's just so beautiful that just a nice item.
That sort of, is that a 78 or is that
maybe? Yeah, I probably never listened to it. I don't know. I probably just picked it up in the auction room just down the road from where I used to live. I send the kids over occasionally to the auction room. I get them to go through the records. I say, if there's any records without someone with a cardigan on the front, tell me. That's that's my charity shop rule as well.
I'm on message there. It's like sort of it's listen, with the 10s, I'm going to cheat a little bit just so I can get this in.
Yeah,
I've got a 10-inch here. It's I wish here that the power of the internet could actually give you the power of smell.
Oh dear.
So you could smell this. I'll tell you what. And this ties in with lathe cutting as well. Actually, this is this is from either the late 40s or the 1950s.
Okay. Oh yeah, Sound Studios, Cavendish Square, London. Nice.
Yeah. I'll turn it around. You might be able to see the art. Oh, that's upside down, isn't it? This is an acetate. It's actually not. I
don't think I can read it.
No.
I can't read it, Julia. I can.
No. Yeah. Anyway, sort of this is a record that my granddad sung, sort of listed acetate. And in the my granddad, he was actually in the BBC choir in the 1930s, which was quite. I mean, it was quite a big deal then. That's like sort of, you know. I don't think the BBC even have a choir now, do they? No, probably not. They just get whoever's living on, you know, X talent, whatever it is. So it's like this record is like sort of is my granddad singing to piano accompaniment in someone's front room.
Yeah.
And they had, in the sort of either late 40s or sort of early 50s, we don't know the exact date, they had a lathe cutter. Oh. They had a lathe cutter back then, and this is an acetate cut into really delicate lacquer of my granddad singing a couple of, you know, light classical. One of them's For Julia, and the other one's Elisa Sings. And I have actually managed to get a tape of those and transfer them onto a thing. And so that's my favourite 10-inch.
That's nice.
I know it's a bit off the wall. That it's
no. Like
that's why I waved around the Stereo Lab 10 inches. So I do know what 10 inches are, but it's like sort of, you know, it's basically 10 inches are like sort of, they were very big format back in the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s. And that is literally, I'd say, the most special record out of everything that I bloody well own.
There you go. That's a good point to end on, I reckon. That's a lovely record. Yeah, sweet. Mr. Phil.
Is that it?
Yeah, come on.
Sorry, mate. I thought we just got going.
Well, I know we could go on a bit, but and we have, but that's a lovely one to end on because that's really nice, isn't it? Yeah, proper.
That's fine with me.
That's cool. Really nice.
It's literally been an honour to sit here and batter onto you, Joe, about especially this. I haven't had a lot of chance to get out there and just bore people senseless recently, so you know, it's enough to get back into practice.
It's what I've been saying to everyone else. Is it's something that I've missed is just chatting about records.
Yeah,
and if you know, we get some fun and then whatever, it's cool. It's good just to chat records. So
yeah.
And like the subjects I pick, the subjects I pick are not like serious. It's just like you just need a bit of structure to run through it a little bit. Really.
Yeah. Sorry about that. That went out the window, didn't it? It's like, I tried to keep on board, but
you didn't even keep it in order at one point.
Sorry, mate. Next time.
So what we're going to do is we're going to wave goodbye, and I'm going to click stop. We can carry on talking afterwards. But for the sake of the video, we're waving goodbye.